And then we have the implementation arm. So these are the engineers and the architects and the doers who work with internal client teams to deliver on the recommendations we make through our strategy work. That includes architecture and cloud, BI and decision intelligence, data quality, and of course, MDM. So I will introduce our speakers now. John Lieto is the Director of Data Management at Wolters Kluwer and leads a team of data stewards and analysts on a variety of projects, including the one that you'll be hearing about today. He's a seasoned veteran leading large and small teams of business operations and analysts and customer specialists, and has successfully delivered to legal professionals, internal customers, and end users. Bryson Dunn is Datasource's MDM and Data Quality Competency Director and leverages his experience as a business development manager, solution architect, and full-stack developer for a holistic and pragmatic approach to data management. Bryson's responsible for overall project success and establishing a robust and repeatable delivery methodology while bringing leading solutions to market. So, our topic today, as you know, is the history and success of our Bi-Directional MDM project together with Wolters Kluwer. We have a lot of content today, so I'll let our hosts go into more detail. And again, thank you everyone who's on the line right now. Thanks for joining. And I do want to mention that if you have any questions, you can utilize the questions field at the bottom of your GoToWebinar panel. We'll address those at the Q&A section during the last 10 to 15 minutes. So with that, I will hand it off to John.
Thank you very much, Allison. Hi, everyone. It's a pleasure to be on this webinar, and thank you very much to Datasource for having me here as a partner and a guest. So a quick introduction on the company I work for. Wolters Kluwer is a global provider of services. It's split up in 4 divisions. We have health, legal, tax, and financial services. CT Corporation, which is a household name if you are a lawyer or work in corporate compliance, is a part of the legal division of Wolters Kluwer. It's 127 years old, and it's the #1 player in this very niche market where we basically are the address of top corporations around the world in the United States, at the state level, at the national level, et cetera. Essentially, in a nutshell, we help keep corporations and companies like EXL and Datasource in compliance. There's tons of laws and regulations around the United States if you want to do business in the United States, and that's what we do. My role at CT is currently I'm the Director of Data Management. I lead the data management practice there, but I've had experience in the business and all parts of the operation. Bryson?
Yeah, thanks, John. So what we're going to be talking through today is our success in a recent MDM program. So we'll talk a little bit about how that project started, how Wolters Kluwer and Datasource partnered together on that project, and some specifics of what that project entailed, what the solution was, what the platform that was selected, and what are some of the more interesting highlights and nuances of that solution that was tailored for CT. We'll also talk about where the partnership is heading from here and some of the things to come before we wrap with a Q&A. So to kick us off, John, would you walk us through where this all started?
Thanks, Bryson. So one of the things I'm most proud of about the project is the project was rooted with deep business needs. Prior to me accepting the current role I have, there was a project called Bedrock, and it had a phase 1. The phase 1 of that project was literally to go and compile issues and problems in 2 main areas: data, getting closer to the customer, and billing. I won't refer to any of the billing pieces, just the data pieces today. And it was a professional team. We have a customer insights group that is part of Wolters Kluwer that helped the company with this project, and went around to the 3 core business cross-functional teams that are in play here: sales, service, and fulfillment. We're a service group, so we are in touch with the customers, one-on-one. We sell and we fulfill, and there's all averaging about 1,000 people who are working for CT in those areas. So the interesting thing was, during this time, I was actually in the business So when they were doing these interviews, I actually got interviewed, even though I knew so much of what they were talking about because of my previous roles. So I did a dive right into the outcomes, because I really want to get into what we did with MDM. So what you're looking at here are just a sampling of some of the outcomes. And what's really important here to remember is, like, they feel anecdotal, they're problems, but, once I actually saw this data, it was just pure evidence of what I've been seeing over years and years and years. And I'll concentrate on just two verticals here. The first one is on the way to your left. So, I can't find the correct customer record. So it's just easier to make a duplicate or a new record. This was done in the 100,000s. We had an immense amount of duplication in our customer master. We're in the 2 to 3 million record zone here, and to say you have more than 25% duplication is pretty rough, especially when you're the industry leader and you use that customer data to service your customers. For each of the problems, the team went deep and came up with root causes and also solutions. So this business case closed with actual things you can action. Like, for instance, well, you need to get rid of your duplicates in 2 main systems, ERP and CRM. Guess what? How about fixing the search functionality? Your ERP system search isn't very good. You look at the vertical on the far right, well, the data isn't managed. I think you need to create a data management team, and we need some structure around governance. And those outcomes is what drove the creation of the role we have.
That's really interesting, John. Could you speak briefly to, these are obviously big problems to solve. How did you go about framing these problems and prioritizing them?
A great question. So we just went back to why we were doing this whole thing in the first place, was to get close to the customer, understand the customer better, and also helping our frontline folks. So when you put that lens on it, it's pretty easy to prioritize. We didn't have too much trouble with that. And that's why I picked these scenarios, because these are the main ones. We go to the next slide. So what happened here next is now you have this team formed. One of the first things they did after the Bedrock Phase 1 project was to create my role. I was fortunate to get the role and then build the team, which is not big. I have 3 direct reports who are data stewards and some offshore help as well. But every one of us, though, are pretty experienced. I have someone in my group that's been in the company 45 years, has been in service and sales. So you have a team of business experts within CT, which, I cannot tell you how important that is. Your data management team needs to be deep in the business. They should not be IT experts. We have some technical skills in my group, but mostly technical experts. So in this slide, I'm just going to go on the left side. So, without the project when we started, we had no tools. We had no MDM. The project was just getting going. We didn't even know what Informatica was or MDM was, really, to tell you the truth. We're all pretty new to data management. So what we do, we use the skills that we had at our disposal. Existing tools like Tableau, SQL, good old Microsoft Excel. And we looked at our data, looked for patterns. How clean is it? What are our critical data elements? We knew it, but we never really put it on paper. So we did that. And then we started doing some quick wins, some small little pilots. Let's clean this area. Let's look at the law firms we have in our system and try to clean that. We learned so much from that. The other thing we did well, too, because everyone in the group has been on projects before, we knew we needed to communicate and share with the business. And we literally drove our requirements from that. Let me stop there for a second.
Yeah, John, it sounds like, and I know this, from our partnership, that you all did a great job of iterating through that discovery exercise, right? Figuring out what worked, what didn't, what the challenges ahead would be, but it's often hard to switch gears into implementation mode, right? How did you do that?
Yeah, we had some help. So a project was formed formally. We did have some more customer insights folks, but we had our IT partners. We call it GBS, but it's a very large shared group in Wolters Kluwer, who works in North America to help us, and we brought on some consultants. And the first thing we did was, requirements building, testing them against the results that we had in the discovery phase, and then we had a separate team that was architecting the solution. So when we get to the solution side of the game, we went down this road where we, it was kind of challenging. You had a group of folks, my team, that really wasn't very experienced in master data management, the concept nor the tools. So we needed some training, and we needed to understand what we were building. Right around now, just to give you some frame of mind and time, because one of the things I'm also very proud of is the speed of delivery. The project was over 2 years, but we hit some troubled waters, as it says. We actually turned around the whole project in 5 months. But late in 2017, and this project started in like late summer of 17, the main architect left the project, left the whole. So you rehired some architects. And about March of that year, with the go-live looming of July, my team or I had not logged into Informatica even once, or even knew how our requirements mapped to the functions in the task tool within Informatica. So we raised a red flag, stopped the project cold. I was very fortunate to have a very, very supportive steering committee and my VP, who I still work with today, who listened and took action. So what we actually did, we started to look at different consultant groups. The first group we brought in, very deep, very big, really wanted to throw out the whole thing we did and start over. And we just thought that wasn't going to work. Our iterations were working. Our profiling was working. We were cleaning the data. Like, we just need to understand what Informatica does. So fortunately, through another engagement with Wolters Kluwer with EXL, we got to meet Datasource. And they were very flexible with the approach. And what Bryson will explain next is where it really turned the corner for the project.
Yeah, and what we were able to do, John, is really collaborate with you closely to avoid derailing the great progress you guys have already done, right? We have a lot of internal methodologies that we use to make our customers successful with their MDM investments. But what we needed to do was really flex and adapt to the approach that you and your team have taken, and make sure that you all are successful with the technology that you've purchased. It was really that last mile of how do we leverage this piece of technology, to make this operational. So we're able to do that by listening to the various viewpoints of you and your team, obviously the history of what you all had done, and also kind of frame different solution capabilities and functionalities in a way that all the stakeholders can understand, present the options in a way that people can understand what the pros and cons and what the end state would feel like and what the implications would be, so that we can kind of coach and enable both the IT and the business towards what that ultimate solution would be.
I think that's a great point, Bryson, and it really was so refreshing to bring in experts that really knew the field of data management. The other thing that we did, though, that was also a big turning point, was the switch to a more agile method. So the project was really just a waterfall project, big bang, all the way. Even though it had 3 phases that we would eventually do, it was very waterfall. I'm not saying we stuck to a very traditional agile. It was more of a hybrid approach. But it let us iterate and do little things until we had the major release, which is what most of these slides are about. So I think that's really good. And I think the moral story there is to stay flexible. Wouldn't you agree, Bryson?
Absolutely, yeah. In any MDM program, MDM projects are hard. You're going to run into stuff
most fail the first time.
Absolutely, absolutely. You have to be able to adapt and adjust, but you also have to keep that end goal, that North Star. What is the value you're delivering in mind, right? That needs to be your driving force.
Exactly.
Yeah. So let's take a step back, John. You want to walk us through some of the different aspects of the project, starting with the vendor, the tool?
So I walked into the role when this was going on, actually. So they had gone through a vendor evaluation for some time, and it was down to 2 tools. It was, IBM and Informatica, and Informatica was chosen. And there was a few reasons for that. I mean, one, we already had Power Center as part of our tool set at Wolters Kluwer for, since, I don't know, God, going back to 2001 or so. Anyway, so that was a major player. And the other player was that the evaluating team felt that it hit on all those business cases. If you go back to those problems, root causes, and outcomes slide that we showed in the very beginning, those were measured against the functions of Informatica. And I would absolutely recommend that any tool evaluation that you go through is do the work up front. Don't pick a tool first. That's really not going to work, especially with MDM. Pick a tool that can deliver what your outcomes are. And Informatica does have that open interface with web services, because our business case was going to be more about real-time fix the data up front than analytical MDM. This is operational MDM we're talking about here. Most companies do it analytical first. We did it completely in reverse.
Yeah, and that's the interesting aspect of this. We'll dive into that in a little bit more detail, how you were successful with leading with operational MDM, which is a challenging thing.
So one of the first things we had to do was define a very new concept to us, was a golden master. I think we got a kick out of the whole term, golden master. And what's really been a fun ride for me personally is, while I'm going through this, I'm going through some heavy self-training and education. I'm going to conferences, I'm getting trained in data, so I'm learning my job at the same time. So it was great for me because I'm exponentially more experienced over 2 years than I was 2 years ago. But so we have to take a look at, well, what's the most important things to our business? What does the golden master mean to us? And probably a lot of you on the phone, this is going to make a lot of sense. But we had to say, well, because we're a legal services company, business name really matters. And if we have duplicates of this, we're going to make a lot of mistakes. And some of our mistakes cost money, because if we deliver a lawsuit to the wrong person or the wrong address, we have to pay for it. So address is very critical. And the context underneath those accounts. And those three, even though it's a high level, are very important. And they were easy to work with. Very common sense on how to find, duplicates of those things. On the right side, it's a little more analytic-y, but we like to look at the hierarchy of customers, kind of stringing them together with outside data sources. We're now doing that in something we built called the Data Lake, and our sales ops and our analytical teams are starting to use to figure out, who is the customer, and so that's helping us there. But linking contacts and any linkages, we're sort of just beginning that journey, but the left side was critical. And before I move on, just so you guys know, at the core, our matching logic was the thing we spent the most time on. I think Bryson remembers the iterations of figuring out what's a duplicate and how do we do it. And interesting enough, it came out to be pretty sensible, right? So you have we fuzzy match on name, we fuzzy match on address, but strict fuzzy. We opened it up at first and iterated and found it was just a mess. We were getting way too many duplicates. And then for contacts, though, it's fuzzy on name, exact on email address. And for us, a duplicate record, and maybe go to the next slide will help.
Sure.
A duplicate contact record means, to be a duplicate, it has to be the fuzzy name, exact email address under the same customer record. That was one of our big findings. We almost messed up the business pretty good by saying it has to be the same email address no matter what your parent is. I can't get into that in 1 hour, but that was another finding, again, through profiling. So this is kind of the meat and potatoes of implementation. So there's these next 3 slides, this one and 2 more slides, which should explain what we did. So those of you who are really interested in what a real-time MDM could be and what it is, Wolters Kluwer, here's the part that matters. So this is a very high-level example of what you could find in your system. And we spent the first part of the project doing this manually. We used spreadsheets. We used the MDM system to spit out flat files to give us duplicates. We literally reviewed thousands of records. Thankfully, a member of my team was very technical savvy, and she built us some really great Tableau reports that let us come up with rules that took care of batches of these without us analyzing them. But this one is more of a complex example. So you have 3 records. The one on the left is a very active record. There's a handshake there, refers to a sales assignment. There's revenue on that thing. They get deliverables. They have 2 contacts under that record. They get deliverables. They place orders. Either they have access to some of our systems. The middle record doesn't look very active. It's Someone hasn't logged in 5 years. They get some deliverables, has no revenue. What is this thing? And then the record on the right, well, it's got a sales assignment. It may not even be the same salesperson. They have some revenue, and they have some order placers. So our mission was, well, figure out which one's a survivor. So next slide. Thanks, Bryson. So we decided the one on the left is a survivor. And this is the meat of our project. So in batch, we would write back to systems and say, okay, we're going to end date or deactivate in our ERP system, the one in the middle completely, move the contacts to the survivor. The one on the right, we had to manually resolve the sales assignment. We don't care about the financials because ERP keeps those forever. But we did end date the record. We actually delete the records out of our CRM product. On the left, you have the result of multiple contacts being under a new parent. And if any of those contacts are duplicates, then we take a second pass and end date those contacts. And that was batch. When we did the real time, we used web services to merge an MDM and then call functions to merge in source. The E1 is our ERP system, apologies. Our E1 ERP system merges in real time. We were able to end date the records, move the contacts, and remove those records from the searching. On the Salesforce side of things, our CRM project, it's sort of like a 2-hour delay. We're also end dating the records.
Yeah, and this is a super important point, especially for some of the more technical folks on the webinar, the architects and the developers. Folks who are experienced with MDM, particularly operational MDM, know that integration is often the biggest challenge, right? You need to not only understand what that single version of the truth looks like and establish that with your MDM tool, you also need to propagate that to your operational systems for the end users to make use of it often. And one of the common pitfalls of that is the associated transactional data, making sure that, it's great, you can, arrive at the conclusion that, this first record on the left is the winner, right, is the golden record. But if you were to just blow away the other two records, you could have some pretty significant business impacts, right? If you didn't have a plan for being able to report on the revenue associated with that losing record, your reports and your BI types of insights might not be accurate. Or perhaps you just automatically, assume that the sales assignment on the winning record is the correct one. You get to have some sales folks that are pretty upset. So taking a business-focused and driven approach to this was really the key to success, John.
I absolutely agree, Bryce. That's so well put, because the things we learned from this exercise, we're still using it today, and the system is plus a year old, and we know we did a good job because it's all valid today. Yeah. And we're in a point-in-time thing. It has some credibility. It's going to last.
Absolutely. So let's take a kind of a deeper look at it.
Yeah, so this is what we actually did. So this does not include what MDM looks like. And as I think about it, it would have been nice to include some of that, but I could speak to it verbally at the end. I already started doing it with the previous slide. But getting back again to the business case, remember the problems that I put in the beginning of the webinar. This speaks exactly to that. Our project objective was to be operational and to address data quality at the point of entry, help the user with searching, fix data quality as they're touching it. Yes, it doesn't help the existing duplicates, we know that, so we're working through that, we do batch updates, but get it looked at the point of entry. So I'll take you through just a use case of what we actually did. So it all starts with the customer calling the service group. Of course, they can email them. There's a ton of ways you can get the service. Let's just say they call them and they want to place an order with us, and we don't know if they're an existing customer or not. So one of the first enhancements we did was we enhanced the searching. But we went even further. We re-engineered our ERP system. You no longer search for records natively in the ERP system. You actually call MDM. You're searching MDM. The users don't know this, but we did it. So Now we can use different search methods. Instead of doing character-based searches and string-based searches, they're now doing Google-like searches like sounds like. So if I put in Rebecca or Becky, I'm going to get matches. It was a little hard at first to use. There was a little training going on there. They couldn't use wildcards anymore, which is wildcard searching was rampant in our group, but it was way more like, Google searching, and people are pretty used to Google searching, so there you go. So now they search, and if the customer service person finds the record they want, well, then they just use it at the top of the graphic there, no harm, no foul. They create the order, off you go. If they say they can't find it, doesn't look right, they start the creation process. So they're going to be very, very focused on basically one screen now. As you'll see in the next slide, one of the things we delivered to the business is we took a workflow of 7 screens and brought it down to 1. We took the opportunity to do this project to streamline some workflow and give the users a present, which helped our credibility as well. But see, now when they hit the save button, though, they no longer save the ERP. We call a web service, and we search MDM for that record again. The match rules are called again, and so are DQ. And then MDM returns a screen back to the user. And by the way, in real time. And this is bouncing from an on-prem data center to the AWS cloud and back. And it's very performant. We've had no issues there. So what they get back is a standardized address, some name standardization, some fields read if they didn't fill them out correctly, and very importantly, match results. And if one of the records that they really wanted to create is already in the match results, and if they end up using one, they select it, we roll back to create, and they move on. But if they choose to create a duplicate, then what we do is we prompt them for the probably most important part of this workflow, a reason code and reason. They must enter this, it's mandatory. Once they do that, we let them create the record. And then Informatica will get a task, a match group task. Now, why the reason code is that we wanted to understand why they're making duplicates. We know that there are some limitations in our ERP system that to get around them, they're making duplicates. The customer has a specific billing problem. They say, yeah, I'm the same guy, but for this billing thing, I want you to bill me at a different address to make another record. Even though there's ways to get around that ERP, it's probably a training thing. So we wanted to know the reason codes, and that alone has given us like at least 4 or 5 different small system enhancements we put in since then to get those, to correct it so you don't have to create duplicates anymore.
And that's the super impactful piece to this, right? And I mean, again, going back to some of the folks who are familiar with MDM, search before create is a piece of this, right? Preventing the duplicate creation up front, and that's a common pattern. But I think probably the most important piece of information that you get here is that last bit of, if they do want to create a duplicate record, tracking why, so that your team can better manage that. And if it is a training issue, you can circle back with the end user and figure out, and maybe enable them to, not create that duplicate the next time and maybe clean it up. Or if it is a systemic type of issue that it really needs to be a workaround, maybe there are ways you can improve that in the future. But you have a better grasp and understanding of the data that's being created, the duplicates that are being created, and why, which enables governance.
Yeah, and again, Bryson and you were very close to all this, and this is when the partnership was really, really at its height. And what I liked about the Datasource approach is you knew we had an IT staff that was building this, knew what they were doing, but your guidance and asking probing questions, pushing our buttons when we came up with different, like, we know what we're doing, we're going to do this. Well, I don't think your matching rules are going to work. And I think the back and forth we did really helped me. One of the things that I, as a leader, was concerned about is what's not on this page, which is the amount of tasks I would get in my MDM system. We currently have a lot of tasks in our MDM system. My team would attest to that. But it would have been exponentially worse if we don't push back and get your guidance on those things.
Yeah, I appreciate you saying that, John. So what was the outcome of this project? What did you achieve?
It's all about outcomes, and when it comes to the end of the day, you have to, show you delivered something. And so, I mean, I won't go into deep details, but, you know, under process, absolutely streamlining the customer maintenance has been huge. I remember going on site. So for the go live on August, I still remember the date, August 24th of 2018, we just passed our 1-year anniversary. We were all, my team and a few others, spread out across the country. We have like 7 or 8 major offices around the country. We went on site, and I was in Chicago, one of our bigger service offices, and I wanted to be there front and center to get a vibe. This is a real issue, isn't it? And I mean, knock on wood, this was one of the smoothest releases we've ever had. Had no bugs, no stopping, like it was really terrific. But I heard someone say that they liked our ERP, they want to use our ERP system over Salesforce for creating records, which, you know, literally no one says this. I'm not going to say they hate our ERP system, but it's not the most favorite thing they use every day. So that was a great thing. So you had to do that. This, what Bryson spoke about, you know, search before create, that is a humongous concept to push out. You know, you could just create records in our system prior to this, right? Just go in, great. And we have some offshore teams that help our groups create records, and we really needed to clamp down on that. And then, of course, the real-time feedback, you know, getting the right address. That postal address has become so popular. You know, cleaning up the records, huge outcome, right? I mean, those are big numbers. Getting our duplication down to what I think is around 9 or 10%. And those out there are still kind of cringing. Let me just say that in our business, I would say about half of that, 9%, is probably unavoidable. There are scenarios of service delivery that require duplicates that we haven't engineered our systems to handle yet. I'm not saying we still don't have work to do, but it's not like a fire drill or the sky is falling. Maybe it was close to that before, but not now. But the insights are happening now. We're just constantly learning about how our users and why our users are doing things like they do. One of my data stewards sends periodic emails. He literally reads the reasons and sends an email to the user saying, hey, you made this record. I found a match for this guy. Why aren't you using that guy? And it's just the answers we're getting back from users are just precious. Some of them are, you know, kind of funny, but others are really insightful. And now, of course, the hierarchies are give us some insights, and just having the tool to do the deduplication in real time is great.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so from my perspective, you know, to really summarize, I think what went really well with the project at CT was, number one, the innovative approach, right? I mean, you all did a great job of the upfront discovery, aligning with the business, and you all had deep business knowledge, so that just came naturally to you. But it's often one of the biggest challenges with MDM, right? But the innovative approach you guys took was really to deliver a sustainable solution that improves quality over time by jumping straight to a more transactional, operational MDM type of solution, which is the exact opposite of what most folks will do, right? They'll start with more of a consolidated hub that serves analytical needs, so you can report on things, and then they, you know, transition into a more operational mode. To jump directly to an operational solution and to do that effectively is almost unheard of, right? It's a big accomplishment. So you guys were able to flip that model on its head and deliver quick time to value, right? Up front, you did the analysis, you resolved some of the low-hanging fruit duplicates, and you made an impact right off the bat. So, you know, overall, you know, I think that this is a pretty clear success story, and has led to a lot of you know, future opportunities for you and your group next year.
Yeah, and thank you, Bryson. You know, great points, and it really goes back again to your requirements and your use case, right? The use case wasn't analytical. I mean, we don't get me wrong, we have plenty of marketing and analytical in use cases and folks that are looking to get closer to the customer, and we're handling that now. I mean, just think about marketing campaigns and things. But again, the things we did to get the duplication down is helping those things today. So just a quick snapshot of where we are from data management. So like MDM, master data management, is about data management, right? and it is a tool that helps you as a process. To me, it's a process first, then a tool to help in your governance. But our journey started, and I spoke to most of these things already on the left-hand side of the screen. We did the workshops. We brought in, I didn't mention our SMEs, but our subject matter experts who brought up the business were huge on this project. They had a lot of fun. They were a cross-section across the whole business. They were at different times 8 to 12 people that stuck with us the whole time. And I still kind of use them in different things today. They got to like data. They got to like, they weren't too happy to look at the duplicates. I'll never forget one of the folks in the meetings. He had the saddest look on his face. And I was like, his name is Ricky. He was like, Ricky, what's wrong? He goes, I feel so bad because we did this to you. And the thing is that it's like, no, don't feel bad. I mean, this is a product of many, many, many years. Our ERP system before this was 16 years old. I mean, what do you expect?
Yep.
But let's look at what's going to happen next. So we're in the right side of the screen now. We're still operationalizing. We're learning. We're creating a really, what I hope to be a really effective data quality scorecard. There are some tools we're going to use. Informatica comes with an Informatica analyst tool that lets you do that. So we're going to just have some key metrics ping us, and I hope to share that with executives. So because remember, everyone, even after a very successful project like this one, you eventually become a tree falling in the forest. I mean, it's not the sexiest thing in the world, so you better make sure you keep it at the forefront. But data governance is interesting, and it needs to happen. In fact, I would say this is where I probably redo a little things. I probably would do the governance more up front. So we're kind of doing that a little backwards. But we are right now talking and working through data governance. We're cataloging, we're building our metadata up, and we're going to be implementing one of the top tools in that space called Calibra. But the success of this project, one of the other things I'm most proud of is how it put data at the fore in the business. I and my team are now the business sponsors for the data layer of the next big project for our business, which is our digital transformation. I don't think that would have happened prior to MDM. We would have been involved, but data would not have been where it is today. It's the most important thing we're talking about, which to me is a great kickoff to the future.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, building off of those initial successes, establishing trust and credibility that data management can help the users, right? Like you said, give them a gift, right?
Yeah.
The users have to adopt and use the thing.
You carry it.
Absolutely. And so it really enables you to it's a springboard, right,
yeah,
to being successful in the future. So two of the things that we're partnering on right now and into next year are data at the heart of digital transformation, right? CT has some ambitious goals from a business perspective, and we're helping you all to better understand and map what are the data capabilities that you need to drive those business objectives, right? Where does the maturity of these capabilities exist today? Where do they need to be in order to meet your goals? And what is the specific plan to move the ball forward in each of those areas, right? So that's a super exciting area that we're focusing on. And also, the EDL, the data layer that underpins that digital transformation. And obviously taking a governance-led approach to that, right? Kind of scaling up your influence and the control over the data within CT.
And it's funny to say scaling up the influence. So we're going to take a non-invasive approach. It's not going to be the hammer. It's going to be collaboration. So as we move forward, Bryson, it's one of the things I'm really going to be looking for is like, check me on some of those things.
Yeah, we're really looking forward to this partnership forward.
Great, thank you both so much. This was a really engaging presentation, and it was so interesting to hear about the nuances of the project and what led to its success, as well as the ongoing partnership. So we did have a couple questions come through, so I will get right to those. When going back to the golden records that you were talking about before, what is the difference between contact and contact details, or is there a difference between those?
No, there's really no difference. So for us, a contact is an individual that we deal business with. For most people, it's the customer, right? That's the customer. If I was Amazon, we'd have customers called contacts, right? But no, it's the same. It's just the details of that contact, really the things that we use to deliver to that contact, like address, email, etc.
Okay. And then for the real-time web service integrations, was an integration platform used, or was that more of a roll your own?
It was a platform, IIB,
Yeah.
IBM
Yeah.
Web Services, and I have to say I'm pretty impressed. We have not seen a lag of really anything. The performance has been very, very well. I mean, Bryson, I don't know what the industry is saying about the web services for IBM, but I haven't seen any real issues there.
Yeah, no, I mean, a lot of people are concerned about that. People who have a hybrid architecture, who are in maybe multiple clouds with on-premises, applications, they worry about latency, they worry about response times. But I tell you, it's if there's an issue, if there is a lag, it is usually solvable.
Yeah. We haven't seen any.
Yeah.
All right. And did you use any third-party deduplicating tools like Data Ladder or others?
We used our hands, knees, shoulders, body parts. No, we did not. I'd like to learn about some of those, but what we did use though is we were quite resourceful. We knew after the first extract came out of MDM, and we looked at this data in Excel, and coming from a sort of a data background, columns and rows and how everything is organized in a normalized manner, what the MDM system does to you, it actually does it across the columns. It's very strange to look at two records on one row, like the master on the left and the duplicates on the right. It just threw us off. And I think my team, someone might be on the call, they remember that was not a great meeting. We were pretty much ready to mutiny against the project because we were inheriting all this. So we knew we couldn't work with it. But our group was very resourceful. One of my team members reversed it all, made it normalized, stuck it in Tableau. We came up with ways to batch fix this stuff. So we essentially invented our own deduplicating tool, but it's still pretty manual, so I wouldn't put it on the market and sell it, but I'd be interested to see it. Yeah.
Not yet.
Not yet.
All right. And what is the volume of orders or transactions flowing through the system per hour or day?
That's a good question. So let me start with records. So on average, we average about 25 to 3,000 customer record creations a month, and you could times that by 2 or 3 for the contacts. Probably 10% of that shouldn't have been made, but that's our new. We're editing those records all day. So we have about 500 plus service individuals in the country, and they have full edit access to the customer master. So they are crushing our records all day long across the nation. As far as orders go, I'm not really sure. It's probably in the magnitude between 100 and 500 a day, but don't hold me to that. So I think we have volumes, but we're not huge. We're not big data. We have tons of data, but we're not in that class. We're not in, in that real high. So I've had that question before when I've explained this implementation, and I think that's yet to be tested when you take an implementation like this and scale it up.
Yeah, you really have to be cognizant. One of the things you touched on before was the volume of tasks, right? I mean, you need to make sure that you're prioritizing the things that really.
It's sort of varied right now.
Absolutely.
Because now we have to do quarterly batch exercises again.
Yeah, right. So when you scale something up like that, you kind of the stewardship, the level of stewardship support that you need, and which tasks are being, have a human in the loop. Those are some of the things you have to really think critically about.
And the complexities of what we do as a business made the human element very critical. We can't automate this stuff. One of the things, and you remember this, Bryson, one of the things I was very, very against was the auto merge concept.
Right.
You guys tried to push that on me pretty hard. I actually regret a little bit of that because I could have auto merged, but I don't think we knew the scenario then. There is a scenario we found that we can do it. It's where you have inactive records that we just could have auto merged them.
Yep.
So we probably missed an opportunity there, but that's how you learn.
Well, exactly, right? And you want to play it on the safe side. Because it's always worse to auto-merge things you shouldn't.
And we have unmerged a few.
Yeah.
We have a few data stewards incorrectly merged records, and but you're able to do it. It's not the easiest thing. And we were smart enough to do a post-production support, ongoing project.
Right.
That is our support mechanism.
All right. Now, by cleaning the data, were you able to save the company money from a data and system architecture standpoint?
So I don't have hard metrics on dollars saved, but I would say definitely we saved time, man hours. It's hard to realize that. I think I'm still struggling on putting that to a monetary value. I mean, like I said earlier, I've since gotten really deep in the field, and some of the folks that have the same role as me in other companies, when I meet them at these conferences, they essentially take some of their data and they put a monetary value on it. They have their finance group do an asset management experiment on the data. They actually put dollar amounts to the customers based on the value of the customer. And once you have a dollar amount on it, then it's a little easier.
Yeah.
We haven't taken that step yet, but it's something we could definitely look at. Good question.
And then after the project kicked off, what was the biggest roadblock or surprise that came your way?
Well, for me personally, it was, the realization that we did something as a company now that we should have known better not to do. When the tool is completely brand new, when the process is completely brand new, and there's no one in the company that has any experience in it, you need to get expert help. Not that we didn't try, but I think we needed to go big bang early. And it's the old saying, you pay now or pay later, cannot be more true.
Sure. Yep. Are you able to speak to the costs of this effort, initial and ongoing?
Not really the ongoing, but this is an over $1 million project. I mean, this is not a small investment. The other thing is investment is you have a team. You have a director level position. So it's a conscious decision the company made to put data as a valued asset. So, MDM is a tool. I mean, it will not solve your data problems. You need to bring process and management to it.
All right. Well, it looks like that's
great questions.
Yeah.
We still have a few minutes. If anybody has any additional questions, just feel free to pop them into the questions panel there. If not, we will have some contact info here coming up, so feel free to reach out after the webinar. Now, here is your contact info for Bryson and Dunn. If you have anything else come up, we are going to post the recording to the Datasource website as well, so if you would like to see it again, or if any of your teammates missed it, feel free to send it along to them. And then stay tuned. So our next webinar, also featuring Bryson, is going to be on October 24th.
I got to sign up for that.
And we'll also have Asif he is our banking and financial services vertical lead. They'll be co-hosting this one together. So we don't have the site up for this yet, but keep an eye out. It will be coming very soon. Thank you all for joining. And any last thoughts, John or Bryson?
No, John, it's been a pleasure working with you. I'm glad we had the opportunity to share the success story. Thanks for joining and presenting, the journey.
Oh, same here. Thank you so much. It has been such a pleasure working with you guys, your team at Datasource and EXL. And I have to say, we're in the same room. So that's also been a pleasure. I mean, we are not doing this remote. I'm looking right in the house, which is great. To do it that way. So I'm glad I had the opportunity to come out to Denver and see where you guys work. So it's great.
That's great to have you. Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Thanks, everybody, and we will see you in October.